Good evening, YouTube. It's your boy Mac here. So, today's video is going to be about. Okay, well, first let me start this. January 31st is going to be what's called a super blood moon or super blue moon. Now, it's actually not going to be blue in color because all the blue means is there's 2 full moons in 1 month. So, this astronomical event that's going on is essentially going to be a lunar eclipse, a supermoon, and a full moon. And that hasn't happened in 150 years. So I felt it was noteworthy to do a video about it. And on that date, I'm going to actually do a live video showing it and showing it from my perspective. You know, fingers crossed that the clouds are clear that night. And you see what I'm talking about. But what I also wanted to touch on in this video, again, I've been having a lot of people ask questions about synchronicity and asking questions about what's this awakening and, again, your movement and everything you're talking about. And, again, I'm just here to provide the information. You know, it comes to me from nowhere sometimes, and I want to be able to share that with you because I want people to try to reach a level of enlightenment that I'm trying to get to. So what I decided to do was research the levels of consciousness, and essentially there are 4 levels of consciousness. This video is going to be a little longer, so just go ahead and if you need to pause now or take a break or whatever, this is some information that's really good that I want to share. And then I'm going to talk about the effects of the supermoon on the human personality and what it's going to do. So if you see people acting strange or differently, just follow along here. So the 4 levels of consciousness, right? To basically establish the consciousness levels, you have to understand what consciousness is. And so this article that I pulled up basically is saying that you need to have a clearer concept of levels of a man's mind. It's easy to observe man's waking consciousness mind, but the mind is always conscious on some level, though man is not always consciously aware of it. He's usually only aware of the waking conscious portion, but this is the shallow concept of consciousness. The study of the mind's levels, the waking consciousness, the subconsciousness, the superconsciousness, and the wisdom mind. Those are the 4 levels. So again, the waking consciousness, that's your everyday life. Subconsciousness, the things you pretty much don't say. The superconsciousness, I'll get to that. And the wisdom mind, which is essentially going towards your third eye type stuff. So, the first portion, the waking consciousness mind, is the mind we use in our daily living. It perceives the incidents of passing time as marked by our everyday lives. The subconscious mind is the portion of the superconsciousness. The subconscious substance is divided in its functions. It automatically controls the functions of the physical form. So, i.e., when I'm doing this or I'm looking at you or any of that stuff, that's the physical. It is a portion of the superconsciousness which stores memories, fears, and phobias and brings them into the waking conscious mind. So this is the part that basically anything that you've dealt with that has been traumatic, you store there, and then your body reacts a certain way when that thing or that event comes about again because it's basically trying to protect you. The superconscious mind holds life's entire library of experience. It's man's book of life and judgment in one. It's divided into 3 aspects: the waking conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the causal force field. 4th level is the wisdom mind, sometimes called the Adi Buddha, the supreme wisdom. It's the field of consciousness which, overshadowing each individual, is the home of the monad, the seat of the incomparable bliss where truth abides. So that's when you've reached a certain level of divinity in your way of thinking or enlightenment. So I'm just going to give you bits and snippets of each one because, again, this was a 6-page article and I didn't want to bore you to death and read it to you. You know, again, some part of this interaction has to be I provide the information, you verify it and research it, we dialogue. That's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to spread this positive movement. That's how we're going to enlighten others. So, the seat of the waking conscious mind is the pineal gland, which houses the mental seed atom. The pineal is also the terminal point of conscious cord, which extends between the brain and the causal superconscious force field above the head. So, basically, when you see a third eye, your pineal gland, it's basically in here in your brain, and it's where it stores endorphins. It's near your pituitary gland and stuff like that, where when you mature and your body's telling you, all right, it's time to grow up and go through puberty and stuff like that. That happens. But the pineal gland is also where they say the seat of the soul is. Subconscious is divided in its operations. So now we're talking about level 2, the subconscious mind. That which operates through the sympathetic nervous system. That which operates through the sympathetic nervous system, automatically controlling the functions of the physical form, the heartbeat, breathing, things like that. Things that you do naturally that you're not mentally telling yourself to do. When you blink, when you take a deep breath, when you're flowing blood through your veins, you're not physically in control of that. You're not thinking to myself, oh, I need to make sure I'm getting this blood down to my feet. I need to make sure it circulates. No, that's a whole other part of your brain that you don't even access. So the next portion, and I'm going to get into, this is when it gets a little lengthier. So let's consider now the second aspect of the subconscious. We already said that the subconscious mind substance flows out of the superconscious force field, of which it is a part of, into the frontal lobe of the brain to coverage in the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. It is well to remember that as man's fears and phobias are gradually removed from his cells, so as you get older and your experience kind of trumps that, and those old cells die that have the stored, fears or memory of traumatic situations. As you get older, the reason those things don't bother you as much is because, again, as a human being, your cells reproduce and they die off as well. So in the nucleus of those cells, those experiences are stored. But as you, again, mature and remove yourself from those situations, they leave. So again, it is well to remember that a man's fears and phobias are gradually removed from these cells. More and more superconscious mind power can strike them until this frontal lobe, aligning with the third eye, pineal gland, ultimately becomes the seat of superconscious. Also with the dissolution of the etheric web, which now divides the post lobe of the pituitary from the anterior lobe, the superconscious impulses and impressions can flow into the frontal lobe of the brain. The superconscious, subconscious, and waking conscious mind. The superconscious is the seat of the Akashic records, which means it is the memory storehouse. In this capacity, it holds the record of both good and evil. Only the pure essences enter the causal force field to build a man's eternal causal form. The undesirable sifts into the subconscious to become man's fears, phobias, complexes. The frontal lobe presently is a victim of the subconscious flow, but when the subconscious is cleared of its undesirable karma, this lobe will unite with the third eye to become a brain center for the subconscious. The superconscious mind finds its seat of contact through the entire third eye area, including the optic thalamus, the third ventricle, the post lobe of the pituitary, and the pineal gland. Although the superconscious embraces the subconscious and waking conscious mental fields, it also extends above and beyond these fields levels. Higher aspect of superconscious contains the causal field. Over and above the superconscious field lies the mind we call the wisdom mind. It extends upward to embrace the monad, man's individual share of God. So essentially, let's think of it like your soul. Your soul is what's the remnant of God. It's what God pretty much made you different from angels. Angels were made to be his workers, soldiers, and all that. Human beings, he left a little bit of his essence in us being our souls, i.e., man was created in his image type deal, So, we're going to go into the superconscious. Is divided now into three principal aspects, right? So we've got the causal field aspect, which lies in the heart of the superconscious. This causal field absorbs into substance only the pure and altruistic experiences of the individual soul. The subconscious mind is that portion of the superconscious which absorbs into its substance the phobias, fears, anxieties, depressions, obsessions, compulsions, neuroses, schizophrenic tendencies, and all mysterious enigmatical emotions, which become mental blockages, stagnant pools of darksome forebodings. So essentially, in your subconscious, anytime you have some kind of mental disorder, there's some kind of disconnect there. The waking conscious mind is the mind we use in our daily living. The surface mind operating through the cerebral spinal nervous system, which sees, hears, tastes, feels, smells, and the incidents of passing time. So, again, this is all pretty good stuff. And it's pretty deep, and so we're going to go to the next portion because, again, I'm not going to give it to you all and read it all, but I want to give you a little bit just to entice you enough to say, well, you know what? Let me try to look into this myself. Your third eye, the superconscious contact. It should be noted that the pineal gland is not only the seat of the conscious mind, but also part of the superconscious point of contact, since it is part of the third eye. And since the third eye in its entirety is the seat of the superconscious in the physical brain, the superconscious also embraces the postfrontal lobe, pituitary, which, when spiritualized to any degree, exerts its influence upon the anterior lobe, the seat of the subconscious mind. The superconscious does not extend downward into the physical form. However, it can be reached through the vagus nerve system and the spinal cord by fires of Kundalini, so that once man's desires become tinged with aspirations, there is a constant upreaching toward the superconscious state. So to wrap this article up, we're going to talk about the last level, which is the wisdom mind. Adi Buddha. The wisdom mind, called the Adi Buddha, extends above the superconscious and embraces the monad. It is the field of supreme consciousness. It is the center of bliss, the realm of the word, the region of the divine life stream of the holy Nod, the home of Christ's substance overshadowing each individual. The wisdom mind is the heritage of every individual, the mind which is God mind of the individual, his portion of the universal divine mind of God. The wisdom mind of each man, called the Adi Buddha, extends above his superconscious and embraces his divine monad. It is that mind which becomes the seat of wisdom, permeating his mental aura. It is the field of supreme consciousness of man, in a state of rare quality which he is almost completely ignorant. It is the seat of supreme bliss, the realm of the word, the field of Christ's substance, and the region of divinity overshadowing each individual. Adi means supreme. Buddha interprets to mean wisdom. So essentially, supreme wisdom. Adi Buddha is in possession of the pure truth, while all aspects of the mind are hampered by their imprisonment of the obscurity of life in the physical form. Even the superconscious, an intermediate force operating between the waking conscious and the wisdom field, the wisdom mind, is tinged with ignorance of Maya, the illusion of physical life. So I end this article with this portion because it kind of resonated with me, and so I want to share it. Man can no more deny the presence of a higher mind than he could deny the presence of animal devotion. Even though the animal cannot say the words "I love you," the qualities of the higher mind are there, but must be perceived by normal consciousness through intuitive perceptions. Man must know the love of God just as he must know the love of the animal. So that's that. Again, there's a lot of information I know to take in, but again, if you are willing to stick around and research and contact and message me, I'm willing to share stuff I got. So now I want to touch back on the supermoon before I wrap this up. So the spiritual meaning behind the supermoon is essentially the harmony of Gaia, which is Earth. As human species, we sometimes lose track of our direct connection to the elements, mainly because we allow ourselves to believe in the physical plane more than understanding our direct relationships with the energetic tones of our planet. We become disconnected to knowing all of Gaia's energy is in harmony with our own consciousness. So essentially, with the relationship of the magnetic field, you want to think about flora, fauna, minerals, plants are all energetically aligned to create harmony on Earth and also synergize with other planets in our universe. So now the issue with this becomes the absence of the law of resonance, aka the law of attraction. When we abuse the law of resonance, it disturbs the balance of the Earth in which we have evolved. This is now happening on a regular basis because countless individuals are being enticed to teachings of greed by the deceiver manipulators who have chosen to incarnate and provide false teachings. If you take a step back, you can see the universal laws working directly with all energies. The spiritual laws of exchange are about cause and effect. Therefore, it is if we desire more than our planet can offer, and if we use the natural resources believing as humans our greater consciousness, we actually create an imbalance, the disharmony of the planet. And so the supermoon's effect with all this basically states that the supermoon, the perigee moons, are different because they are closer to the Earth. This means that they are aligning with different magnetic tones. It's like an extra dose of magnetic plasma is being sent into our atmosphere. There are two things that can result from a supermoon coming so close to the Earth. If our planet is in harmony, it will send energetic tones which will uplift and balance all subtle energies. As humans, we would feel full of life and generally upbeat. If our planet isn't in harmony, it will escalate moods and escalate extreme weather. The South Pole and the North Poles will energetically align and send out a pure vibrational frequency, but loss of ice adversely affects its balance. So essentially, when the moon is closer, and because it has such a strong magnetic pull and gravitational pull, our bodies have, their own magnetic fields. It has their own, electrical impulses. That's what our nervous system is. That's what our brain runs on and all that. So when this moon comes closer, you will see people's moods essentially alter and shift. I think we're in due for a paradigm shift, which is basically the thought of how everything works and the general accepted ideology of things now being changed in a different view. So again, I apologize for the length of this video, but I had to get this information out. This has kind of been on my mind for the last 2 or 3 days. In about 3 days, we're going to have the Supermoon, and I'm going to live stream it. I hope you're there to follow. Again, if you still haven't subscribed yet, hit the like button, subscribe. Weekly, I will come up with something that will be about spirituality or your belief system or a way to better expand yourself, and I want to keep pushing that forward. So again, drop me a like, comment in the bottom there if you have any questions. Follow me on Instagram at BMACK388. And again, this has been your boy Mac, giving you the best information that I can when I get it, when it comes to me. And love y'all. Take care of each other. Peace.